There is a hole in the ground that I cannot leave. It is called Garganta, but most call it the Complex. Inside this hole are horrors beyond human comprehension and feral beasts that once had human names, and I will descend into this hole again and again, over and over, never really knowing why. The Complex calls to me as if this particular hole was made for me. I might close the game, I might not visit it for months, but it's always there with a siren's call waiting for me to return, and it feels as though it knows that I will. Time will take me to other games and new experiences and things far from the depths of Garganta, but there is a hole in the ground that I can never truly leave. GTFO is one of those games that on the surface doesn't feel like it should be good. I mean, for God's sake, it's called GTFO. It's a horror extraction shooter about dropping into a massive tunnel system haunted by monsters in the dark and trying to survive long enough to make it back out. But it's also one of those games where I played it and I got in deep and suddenly all I could think was, okay, yeah, I see it. It is, as far as any game can be, a perfect game. Every element of what makes up the experience is exactly what it's supposed to be in exactly the right amount. GTFO is perhaps the most capable example of what a game with absolutely zero fat on it looks like. If you've ever played GTFO before, I think you'll agree with that. If you've never played GTFO before, it might be best to just start by showing you GTFO. The descent into Garganta is, in a word, disorienting. In the dark, the sound of the different levels and floors of the subterranean superstructure whisking by you is the only indication of speed, and the length of the drop combined with our poorly conceived understanding of the rapidity with which we descend leaves us with only a single word to understand our depth below the surface. Unfathomable. We have entered the world of R1A1, the very first level of GTFO. The game will never be softer than this. The objective of R1A1, yes, there is a level called R2D2, it's brutal, is to retrieve a DNA sample from deeper in the facility. The lift will take you down to roughly the depth of your objective and leave you there until the sample is retrieved. And here to greet you are the sleepers. As a collective whole, the enemies you encounter are things all refer to as sleepers, but there's more than a few different entities within that nomenclature. For example, this guy is something that might be called a sleeper, a runner, or a striker. One of the fun things about GTFO for me is that my group and I played this game long before its full release, and we developed names for the enemies before the wiki was codified. If you're in deep with the game and I use an unfamiliar name, that's why. Sleepers are typically pretty simple. They sleep, but they'll be awoken by sudden new lights or by loud sounds. Trying to clear a room of sleepers with guns only is about the worst idea you could try, especially since striking a small sleeper with a knife or a hammer while they slumber will typically kill one instantly. Just be aware that any immediately adjacent sleepers can be awoken by the sound, so you'll always have to be ready to pivot, and if something goes wrong, you'll have to go loud. This is the most basic premise of GTFO. The game is slow and quiet, it is careful precision and on-the-fly planning, all intercut by moments of incredible violence. It is also the earliest showcase of this game's difficulty. In this room, there are only 4 enemies. 2 are runners, but 2 are shooters, sleepers that are capable of firing small, damaging bursts at you. This means that your attention is instantly split if the room goes loud between enemies in your face and trying to avoid homing projectiles shot at you from dark corners. And the whole time you're having this fight, you're wasting resources. Because of the nature of this room, being that all the enemies were sleeping when I entered, every round I fire and every point of damage I take is a resource I didn't need to expend. Scattered across the rundown will be lockers or lockboxes with different types of supplies in them, but one thing you will begin to feel as you progress is that resources are limited. Each missed shot is something that you will come to feel, and as you get better, even the shots that hit but don't kill efficiently begin to feel like a waste. One of the great struggles in GTFO is that there's a lot of different resources to encounter in the game. Health packs and ammo packs, sure, each do what you'd think, but then you've also got tool packs to resupply sentry guns and different utility options, you've got glow sticks and high-powered flashlights, each designed to light up areas in different ways, and the game has a real knack for knowing exactly when you need all of your blood to stop being on the outside, and it's thrilled to offer you a glow stick in those trying times. Waste and misuse a resource, and you have no idea when you'll be able to acquire more of it. There's also a fun little item called a proximity mine, which can be placed on a wall. And you might be wondering, why is Thayan placing that mine so high up? That's much taller than the strikers and shooters are.
Foreshadowing is a literary device.
Not every fight can be avoided. At certain points, GTFO transforms into a sort of tower defense game, and the first place we see it is with this door. This is a scan door with a security system attached to it, triggered as the complex started to go into lockdown. To open the door, you'll need to initiate a bioscan and then activate all of the different security scans it sends out. While that's happening though, the door's alarm will be drawing enemies to our location, a horde of sleepers that will assault this door and stop at nothing to reach us. So, if we have a turret, and we need to defend this door while we do scans in this room, where do we place the turret? If you said inside the room, perhaps facing the door, congratulations, you're about to be mauled to death. Do you want to know a fun fact? We call this guy a Titan, the melee counterpart to the tower, two larger forms of sleepers, and the reason why you place mines so high up. This encounter is also an example of why you wait to place them until you know where they're needed. The one I placed is certainly not doing me any favors 2 rooms over. So, a turret inside the room cannot start shooting until the door is already broken, meaning that the sleepers have had time to mass against the door. If we instead place the turret outside the door, facing where the sleepers will be mobbing, we're still going to be mauled to death. GTFO is mean like that. I think it's important to note that throughout the complex, enemy spawns are completely, or at least functionally completely, random. I have entered into the R1A1 hole and found no signs of life at all, and I've entered into the R1A1 hole and died in the first room. And this scattered spawning ensures that every run is going to have its own sense of pressure and tension. There are threats here, but you will never know where they are or where they will appear until they're in the room with you. One of the hardest parts of GTFO is the recognition that you're never alone in Garganta. There are always more threats, and they're waiting for any moment of vulnerability to take advantage of you. And while it can be hard knowing that you're never alone, the silver lining is that, you know, you're never alone. GTFO is, at its core, a 4-person game. Like with all games, there are wizards capable of pushing the experience to its limit who can probably do any content solo, but I am not one of them, so instead of casting Fireball, I opt to phone 3 very good friends. And with those 3 friends, I can actually get footage beyond this first room. And it's more than just footage, because now we can also talk about all of the different tools that GTFO offers you. By my count, there are 18 different primary weapons, 15 different special weapons, 4 different melee weapons, and 7 different tool options to choose from before you start your rundown, and I genuinely think you can make the case for each of these having their own value to the team, while no individual weapon or tool is so overtuned that not using it feels bad. It is hard to do that with so many different options, and I honestly can't talk about a lot of them in detail because my group and I found the things we really liked and then we settled into those roles. I typically run the basic pistol because I love the speed and fluidity of its ease of use, but then I'll carry a heavy sniper as my special and it becomes my duty to deal with titans and towers, both of which can be killed instantly with a single shot from the sniper. A few of us carry turrets, but one guy always takes a bio tracker, which can mark sleepers and show you their heartbeats, which occasionally leads to moments like this.
Holy fuck.
This is so bad.
There are so many people on my bio
hate
tracker
it.
when I looked to the west.
I fucking hate it when the bio tracker guy
Okay.
says, "Oh fuck."
Y'all need to tune into my stream right
Yeah,
now
I want
on
to see this.
Discord.
All right.
So you got the bio scanner.
Yep. That's what like a few enemies looks like. Right.
Yep.
As you turn.
I turned to the west.
Oh my god, it just keeps going. Oh my god.
Oh shit!
No.
Man, I hate looking at that on a bio tracker. That's just spooky.
Joey literally did the like, guys, you're gonna want to see this.
Yeah.
There are so many things that you can use to define your relationship with the threats in the complex. Biofoam to lock down doors, 4 different kinds of turrets, a mine launcher, all tools each with their own unique values and playstyles. Oh, and like lock melters, I guess.
Oh, dude, marvelous. Fun fact, I've already written about all of the equipment, and I forgot to include the lock melter because I've never used one.
Fair.
There's this really fun thing that happens in GTFO where it feels like the game is listening and it knows when you've disrespected something. Disrespect a lock melter in one round, and the next round will have you like this.
Oh, there is a chest. Anybody got a lock melter?
Nope.
Fuck.
Every tool in Garganta has a use, and the difference between good and great is knowing that. For example, for the entire 16 minutes that we had a single person sleuthing a room full of titans and towers, my job was just to watch these two that were sitting by the door that he entered into. If something goes wrong for him in there and all of those enemies wake up, I can clear the enemies closest to his exit, boosting his chance of making it out just a bit. Even with this contingency though, we're painfully aware that a single mistake can cause our death. Death in GTFO comes in two forms. There is the slow crawl, where you realize room by room that you've been using slightly too many resources per encounter, that you're slowly burning through your limited ammo count, that your turrets are running dry, and that there's just no more boxes in the rooms you've already cleared. It is a style of defeat where trying to trace the path back and figure out the exact moment the loss became inevitable can sometimes trace all the way back to the start of the round. It can be a single person leaving a flashlight on too long. It can be a different person leaving a bioscan too soon. It could be a dreadful friendly fire accident. Any one of these events can start a downward momentum of eating more and more resources that your team cannot spare. The second form, of course, is a much more brutal, rapid, all-at-once style of death. It can happen anywhere at any time, and is almost always preceded by the sudden onset of the understanding that you didn't make a mistake 30 minutes ago, or 45, or 60. You made a mistake 4 seconds ago, and now you're going to die. It is these two forms of defeat that GTFO is built upon: the value of patience and a slow, quiet approach, a methodical evaluation of every single arena the game presents you with. All of the correct behavior is based around avoiding the emotional pitfalls of those two types of death. There are times when I am in the complex that I realize that the level and world design of Garganta is almost too good. There's this element to small details in world design wherein you would not miss them if they were not there, and they are not necessarily what makes a game good, but rather they are the elements that will elevate an otherwise just good title to brilliance. Sound is perhaps the easiest to start with, and it starts with a drop into Garganta. The sound of the machine pulling you from your hydrostasis unit, the rattling of your character's shaky breath, the wind whipping past you on your descent, it all sets up this feeling of unsteadiness, and that feeling will be compounded upon every step of your journey. The ambience and ambient sound of Garganta is a masterclass in unease. Rumblings from far away, dripping water from old derelict pipes, the soft general hum of what remains of the complex's power grid. It all combines and serves to make the world of Garganta feel like one of the most immersive locales I've ever seen in a game. In one of the most ironic ways possible, Garganta feels alive and active. Not with people, but rather with the things that happen when people disappear. All of the denizens of Garganta make their own sounds as well, as they pulse and writhe in a light sleep waiting for something to awaken them. And when they are awoken, the sounds they make are particularly haunting. According to Simon Viklund, one of the designers involved with GTFO's creation, practically all monster sounds are actually made from sounds we recorded ourselves, contorting our throats and vocal cords to alter our voices in the weirdest possible ways. Then we've pitched and morphed those recordings to create new horrifying sounds that are unmistakably human but hideously distorted. It is a small but particularly brilliant decision to record monster sounds this way, and it serves to always remind you that the things you're hiding from and fighting are not so different from you, and it raises the stakes by making sure you're always subconsciously aware of what your failure might involve. And speaking of failure and monster sounds, would you like to hear the noise that haunts my dreams?
Sounds like it came straight out of Wakanda.
Oh shit.
Oh shit, indeed.
Alright,
The Scout is a wandering enemy that will routinely extend tentacles to check for any disturbances, also known as players, and if they detect anything, either by touch or by damage or by sound, they'll set off an alarm that draws dozens of enemies to your location, as well as waking up all nearby sleepers. The Scout is an enemy so potentially devastating that my team and I have actually put a Scout clause into effect for when we play. The Scout can be killed instantly with a sniper, which means that it's my job to execute any we find, regardless of how many enemies the shot might wake up, because if the Scout detects us in any way, we'll already have to fight all of those enemies, plus the additional waves the Scout will call. Out of all of the runs we've ever failed, I estimate that roughly half of them were ended by Scouts. The notion of missing a scout with a sniper shot is pretty much the worst feeling in the game for me. The most beautiful part of the game, however, is its use of lighting. Lighting in GTFO is a topic where it's actually very difficult to pinpoint where to start because the value and appreciation for it is both such a broad and deep element. Garganta is largely dark, but not in a consistent way. Some wings of the complex operate as though nothing has happened, or as if the area is simply waiting to be awoken from a low power mode. Other areas are cursed with what I refer to as the YouTube compression hell mode effect. There's literally no light here, and your options for illumination are few and far between. Certain lockboxes or lockers might have stacks of glow sticks that will temporarily brighten the surrounding darkness without alerting nearby sleepers, but this light is temporary. There is this sense of veneration to light in GTFO. Different guns will have unique flashlights, a detail you would only see in a game with such a deep relationship between light and dark, and the high-powered flashlight remains one of the best drops in the game for my group for the sense of control and security it brings, and the way that it casts away the claustrophobia that an otherwise unrelenting dark provides. There is a remarkable sense of beauty that comes with the mid-zones, stuck between not fully dark and not fully lit either. A strange, quiet, melancholic beauty. In these half-zones, the dark does not feel tight or threatening, but sad, and the light that shines a dull color through it feels cold no matter the shade. I do not think that Garganta was made for ethically good reasons, but it was made and designed to be used by humans. And now, with no humans left, with the few ragged dying breaths that the complex still takes, Garganta feels like the world's most complicated haunted house, and it feels like it knows that it used to be more than that. There is perhaps no level more capable of showing GTFO's reverence for light than R1C1. It is a level with absolutely zero native light, cursed with the highest level of the hell mode effect. And this means that any source of light that you can bring becomes near divine in regards to how much it means to me. This is the level where I've realized that my character's shoulder flashlight, their pistol flashlight, and their sniper's underbarrel flashlight are all different. No other game would do this. No other game cares about light this much. The point of this level is to cycle a reactor, bring power back to this part of Garganta, and in doing so, restore light to the level. And in doing so, you'll be calling the hordes to you. The sleepers are coming to kill you, but more importantly, somehow, more importantly than that, they're coming to turn off the light. In the midst of 8 terrible waves, I am not thinking about keeping my character alive or that the time my team has spent on the level will be lost if we die. I'm thinking about the light. One of the tools available to you as you prowl the depths of the complex that I still haven't mentioned are the static terminals. They can be used to locate items scattered around Garganta, both consumable and quest, but they also contain lore. And if you use the terminals to access these logs, you might start to feel that there is far, far more going on with the complex and the world outside of it than you'd ever have guessed from just running missions here. The third element here, building on top of sound and lighting, is the story. For a long time, GTFO was just an experience and exposure. Go into the hole, do a thing, and try to make it back out. But towards the later levels, this changes. Towards the later levels, you'll learn that once again, you're not alone down here.
You remember me? My name is John Schaefer. I'm working with the Warden, but it's not what you think. The Warden has been trying to help us against the real enemy, the virus. I know you want to get out, but outside of this pit, there's nothing. It's all gone. The virus has wiped everything out. But there is a way out of this mess, and the Warden is going to help us. You're going to use the matter wave projector. You've used it before, but this time we'll know what we're doing. We're going to use coordinates to control the destination. It can take us somewhere there's no virus, no creatures. I'll explain more once you find it.
This hook is where I choose to leave you. There is a story to GTFO and the world of Garganta and the surface above it, and the cast of characters that act as our surrogates into this world. If the rest of the game is to be trusted, I believe it is a very good story. But for all of my efforts, I have never seen the end of it. I have never truly left the hole. And so, if you want to understand what's going on, if you want to know how this story ends, there is only one option for you. You have to come down here and find the answers for yourself. Oh, this is neat. My script says begin outro, and then I didn't write anything. That's not gonna help me here much, is it? I want to give a shout out to the 3 of you from the Outer Wilds video that were able to predict that this was going to be a video on GTFO, and a special shout out to the one of you that were able to identify the model of the in-game gun I was using. Let's see if anybody can pin this one down. I feel like we're going to be getting even more niche. This is the part of the video where I get to give a massive thank you to my patrons over on Patreon for generously funding this work and helping me produce these videos. They had access to this video a few days ago, and I'm trying to build out a bit of a time schedule that lets me get these videos to them even earlier. If that sounds like a thing that would be interesting to you, or if you just want to see your name in the credits for these videos, or if you just want to help support the work you enjoy watching, then you can head over to my Patreon page and see if there's a tier that works for you. Thank you.